Hey kids, this is Ivan. How you doing? A long time ago, I heard somebody say that it's easy for you to teach what was hard for you to learn. And in my own experience, I found that the reverse is actually true as well. That it can be hard to teach what was easy for you to learn, or what you learned a long time ago, and that sequential way in which you learn it is lost in the mists of time. I do have to say this: that we live in this great age, where if you don't know how to play a game, because we'll keep this to role-playing games. If you're not sure about some of the mechanics of something in the books, it seems a little obtuse to you. You can get on a forum, you can watch, videos. I remember like not understanding exactly how the D6 Fantasy Flight Star Wars system worked. Boom! I found Woodward 123's video on it, and I was like, oh, awesome! Learned it right there. Um, there's a lot of different places you can go to find information because there's people with experience. That's really cool. You can wade through the forum, ignore all the flame wars and all the other crap, and you get to the actual. There's plenty of information out there, videos, whatever, and even to the point where you develop relationships with people here on the internet, and they can walk you through all kinds of stuff. And my experience, I'm going to go off on a little tangent. Back in the day, 1981, like we had the Dragon magazine, we had Gygaxian Prose. Not that I'm knocking Gary Gygax, but you know what I mean. We just had to make a lot of stuff up. Sometimes if it wasn't clear, there was nobody to go to. There are a few people who've been playing longer than you had, and they probably made it up too. So, just food for thought. But as I'm sitting there, I was talking to RuneSlinger. Not surprisingly, I'm talking about Ubiquity, and this video is not about Ubiquity, but I'm going over the some of the stuff for All for One Regime Diabolique, and there's this fencing style, and I'm trying to figure out like what my bonuses are for any particular action, because when you boil fencing down, you can either thrust or parry or slash, or let's see what the heck else is there, disarm or feint. And each one of those will have a different attack rating on it, because sometimes you get to add the rating of your weapon to it, sometimes you don't, because if you're not attacking, you don't. In something like a parry, it's done completely differently because you're replacing your dexterity with your fencing levels and your defense thing, and still adding that to your body, etc. And these are things that, like, I don't want to say that rules were obtuse, but I had, it wasn't 100%. Like, I wish there was a little cheat sheet in there somewhere, or something that, for idiots, this is how it works, just in case you didn't understand. But it was neat because then I have somebody to go to and check that out. And as we were talking, I went back and looked at some of his old blogs. He said, take a look at this, take a look at that. And it details part of his learning curve in going over Ubiquity. Once again, this isn't about Ubiquity, but the neat thing now is that you can actually go and back on, like, watch YouTube, look at people's blogs, and find out blow by blow, like, what their learning curve was. How did they sequentially learn how to play this game, to wrap their heads around the system, wrap their heads around the setting, etc. People are willing to share that with you. That's one of the reasons I made that rather long video about character creation I did, recently, about creating my own all for one character. And it wasn't just to like say, hey, look at me, or hey, look at my neat character. It's like, just this is the kind of the thought process that went in it. This is kind of where it emerged from. To me, I like, maybe that was boring to you, but I like windows into exactly, how somebody learns something, how somebody actually learned to apply the game that they were interested in. And I found that sometimes, I don't know if you ever explained how to role play your favorite game to somebody. With something like, say, some of the old school D&D type games, I'm explaining how to play Lamentations of the Flame Princess, or BX, or something like Astonishing Swordsman and Sorcerers of Hyperborea. I'll gloss over terms like armor class, or to hit rolls, or saving throws, or whatever, or say D20 or 2D6, and I also have to realize these people have no clue what I'm talking about. But it's because I learned these things for the most part 30 plus years ago. Jeez, 36. Ooh, I'm getting old. But you know what I mean. And any other things, any other games, I think would probably be easier for me to teach somebody how to play a Ubiquity-based game, because it's been that close time-wise, and I've had to break it down into small bite-sized chunks and learn from other people. Well, how do you do this? How do you do that? So, yeah, I think, it can be much easier to teach somebody something that was hard for you to learn, or that you learned recently and you broke it down into bite-sized chunks. I actually had the opportunity, going off on another digression, I used to work in a field where we had to defend ourselves from people that could become potentially violent, and I'm not a self-defense expert, but it came a time I was good at defending myself mostly, but it came time to become a trainer, and this guy Lee Lowry, who actually wrote the course that we and some law enforcement agencies and other people used, trained us to be trainers. And Lee was great because he pretty much broke down any particular move or sequence, any escape or hold or whatever, into various discrete steps. This is how you're going to teach them. And that was great for me because I kind of instinctively knew how to do this stuff. So But the thing was, I would have been a lousy teacher had he not kind of shown me like step by step how to explain somebody, how to do this release, this hold, this escape, and that kind of thing. So I learned a lot from him in terms of teaching people, which then sometimes I promptly forget when I'm teaching them how to play a role-playing game. So that's important stuff. And I tell you what, too, this, wasn't going to shoehorn this into this video, but like, and I've talked about this a little bit before. But the world has changed drastically in my generation, and not just because now we have role-playing games. I think role-playing games might be 40 years old, but and even before my generation a little bit. But whether you're at work, any place you go to, even shopping at the store, things have changed at a breakneck pace. You constantly have to learn how to do things over again because things change rapidly. We didn't. I remember like when I had a beeper. And it wasn't that long ago, gave my kids my beeper number. And then, the flip phone, now I've got this freaking iPhone that does all this, you know what I mean? The world has changed drastically. And, a place like our hobby, our chosen hobby that we go to go and relax, and maybe you're an older guy like me or older woman, and you kind of go here, and I don't want to say it's an escape, but it's a safe space. And, sometimes, if you're like me, and I have some friends that kind of feel this way, it's like, man, now it's invaded this space too, because now I'm having to learn like a new game, a new system. And I'm not being a curmudgeon. I'm just kind of giving you a window into sometimes how somebody like me thinks, where all of a sudden, like, now the world's changing here too, and I have to relearn how to do something I've known how to do for 30 plus years. And it's my hobby. This is supposed to be where I go and have fun and relax, and don't have to think too hard and just kind of kick back and role play, And that's not getting out the violins and saying boo-hoo. I'm just saying, once again, being exposed to somebody else's learning curve and learning, well, how did you learn this? How did you wrap your head around this? What were your misgivings and how did you get over them? What was your actual experience versus theory? That's great. So I love being able to access this on the internet. Checking somebody's blog posts out, videos, all that kind of good junk. So, that's all I've got to say about that. And maybe you can identify this song because this one's a little obscure. Hopefully I play it like halfway decent. Any guesses? Any guesses? And one of my favorite bands.